Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. Today we're talking DC. Today we're talking Doctor Who. It's just going to be a random, calm conversation, but with me, nothing is calm, and I'm going to give you the facts straight through the eyes. So let's go. According to Looper and other internet sources, there has been a test screening for Joker Folie à Deux, and it's had a very positive reaction. Now let's be clear, last year we were told The Flash had very good positive reactions in its test screenings, and Blue Beetle the same. We all saw what happened with those two movies. They weren't exactly the best CBMs ever, as we were told they were going to be. And they were both flops at the global and domestic box offices. And no random people with 10 followers on Twitter or Threads can change that. Just because you watched it for the first time on Max doesn't suddenly change that narrative. But Joker Folie à Deux and those movies are not the same thing. Joker Folie à Deux is going to the Venice Film Festival. If you don't understand what that is, it's where all the la-di-da movies go. You know, the movies that are loved by critics, the movies that get standing ovations. For this movie to be going to the Venice Film Festival, just like the first did, it's a very highbrow movie that's going to gain a lot of respect from industry people and critics. Simple as that. As the first film did. There was a controversial reaction to Joker. It wasn't a controversial movie, but, you know, some of the alt-lefts, alt-left access media and pundits got upset about it. Doesn't matter, it was successful. It won an Oscar for Joaquin Phoenix's outstanding performance. Joker Folie à Deux is going to perform well in the box office. It's going to be nominated for a multitude of Oscars, and it's going to be very successful at the box office. This is going to be a very intimidating result for James Gunn. You may be asking, but it's DC, Mick. He wants it to be successful. Oh, no, he doesn't. It's going to intimidate him. This Superman movie coming out next year is a very important movie for James Gunn, David Zaslav, Peter Safran, and all those people. Joker Folie à Deux was already greenlit when James Gunn was appointed co-CEO of the newly formed DC Studios. You know, that movie is not his priority. He would have been really, really happy that the Batman 2 was delayed. Because if the Batman 2 came out in the same year as Superman, it would have had more attention, more hype, it would have made more money. And let's be honest about it, it probably would have been a better movie. And you're talking to one of the biggest Superman fans out there. I want DC Universe to be successful. I want Superman to be successful. But I don't think that's a foregone conclusion right now. And Joker Folie à Deux is going to have a lot of hype. Is there a reality here that Joker Folie à Deux also gets delayed? There's no reason why Joker Folie à Deux would be delayed. If it was delayed, James Gunn would absolutely be behind it. But let me be clear here, because this is something that people don't talk about, especially the run with Gunn mob. Now, the director of Joker and Joker Folie à Deux was approached by David Zaslav before he approached James Gunn to run DC Studios. In fact, if Todd Phillips hadn't have turned down that opportunity, James Gunn would now not be the creative arm of DC Studios. And that, my friends, is a fact. Todd Phillips is a visionary director. There's no question about it. And I have no doubt that he's created a brilliant movie here. No, it's not a musical. It's a film with some songs in it. But even if this film had 60 songs in a 2.5 hour runtime, doesn't mean it can't win Oscars. Doesn't mean it won't get a standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival. Doesn't mean it can't be a global box office hit. Simple as that. This film is huge. It's coming out this year. It will be released before Superman. And it's going to be very, very interesting. In fact, will we have seen a picture of the new Superman costume before Joker is released? I think so. And I don't think that makes me clever. He does need some hype. And, you know, it's a very interesting situation that Joker Folie à Deux is coming out this year. This is a project that was not greenlit by DC Studios, not by James Gunn, not by Peter Safran. I think actually Peter Safran may even be a producer on this film before James Gunn even came in. I'm not sure about that. So this is going to be a very huge, exciting movie. And if you think there's no hype about Folie à Deux right now, there will be once that trailer is released, I think, next month. We were supposed to get a trailer for Penguin this week. I assume at some point we will. I don't know when. If we get a trailer for Penguin, of course I'm going to do a trailer reaction and we're going to go well into that and talk about it because I'm excited about the Batman universe and hopefully we do finally see, you know, the Batman 2 in 2026. But James Gunn will be very, very happy that the Batman 2 is not being released alongside his movie, right? Because it's all competition for James Gunn. He only wants a connected universe. He doesn't really want a DC Elseworlds. All he wants is his universe to thrive. And at this moment in time, we don't know if it will. If you think James Gunn's wife announcing that she's going to be in Peacemaker 2 and a secret project excites the general audience, you couldn't be more wrong. Nobody gives a shit. The only people, look, this is not me being a hater. I'm just telling you the truth. The truth is the only hype coming about Superman and DC Universe is from some, you know, hardcore DC fans, some pundits, and the Run with Gun fandom. That's it. That's, you know, where it's coming from. So they're going to need a lot more than that for Superman to make the money it needs to make. So Joker Folie à Deux is going to be a very successful movie in terms of everything. In terms of the Venice Film Festival. I mean, can you ever see a moment where James Gunn has a comic book movie going to the Venice Film Festival? Do me a favor. And that tells you everything you need to know. I would rather live in a DC film universe that's unconnected, where its films are critically acclaimed and are going to the Venice Film Festival with visionary directors, than having some connected DC universe than what we're getting now. It's not what I want. It's not something I think is going to be successful. There's only one person who's been successful with that, and that's Kevin Feige with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Nobody else has had a long-running cinematic franchise that's worked. Star Wars did well, yes, but not in terms of 20-plus movies, right? No one else has done it. No one else is going to do it. There's no question James Gunn has his supporters, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, it's not enough to make the money, to make the $800 billion box office he needs right now. But, and I think we should move on from Joker Folie à Deux. You know my thoughts on that. And as soon as we get a trailer, we will react to it on this channel. And I can't wait to do that. Because I think the most important moment to suck in the general audience will be the Superman costume reveal. And it's been a very interesting situation. A few weeks ago, we were teased the Superman emblem. It's clearly a Kingdom Come emblem. Doesn't mean we're getting the Kingdom Come story, neither an accurate telling of Kingdom Come or reverse Kingdom Come. And all reverse Kingdom Come means is that it's not Kingdom Come, basically, reverse Kingdom Come. That's just, that's just twisting the narrative, isn't it? How, people say, well, it's reverse Kingdom Come. Well, that just means it ain't Kingdom Come at the end of the day. So that's not very exciting. But I do like the logo. It's very similar to the material from the Man of Steel costume. And we should actually talk about Man of Steel and how Snyder, Charles Roven and all those people handled the reveal of the costume. Of course, Zack Snyder wasn't going on social media back in, 2011, when they were making the movie, 2012, whenever it was. He wasn't teasing fans. He didn't need to. He was making a Superman movie. And people had opinions and people were excited. But they handled the costume reveal perfectly. They had Henry Cavill crouched down by a safe. We could see most of the costume, but we couldn't see not the most important thing, that's a ridiculous thing to say, Mick, but a thing that a lot of fans take really seriously. Whether or not Henry Cavill's costume had the red trunks within it. He crouched down in a very clever way where we couldn't see. It was very, very clever and it kept people talking. Personally, I think that was a brilliant reveal. It may be the best reveal of a costume we've ever had. And I like that Superman costume, by the way. But to the general audience, the reveal of the costume will be important because it will be on local news, local newspapers. It won't just be on the internet. Everyone will be talking about that. So it will be a very important moment. Whether or not people like that costume depends on the success of the movie. Because if the general audience don't like the costume, then they ain't going to bother watching the movie. It's as simple as that. This is how films can win or lose in the current day. It's as simple as that. So we'll see what kind of costume it is when it's revealed. But there's no question about it that you need a general audience to watch movies. And, general audiences are not stupid. As a fan of the Snyderverse, I know that myself. It's interesting with the Snyderverse, the two movies that were released in theatres, there were an element of the general audience who did go to cinemas and watch those movies and enjoy those movies. You don't get 850 million for BVS or almost 700 million for Man of Steel globally if some of the general audience didn't come in to see it. So history has those figures for everyone to see, and James Gunn's Superman movie has to make more money than Man of Steel, as I've already said on a multitude of occasions. And it's not long to July the 11th, 2025. It may seem like a long way, but it will creep up on James Gunn. And if Joker Folie à Deux makes the money and gets the hype I think it will, it's going to be very, very intimidating for him. Because I think we are with the general audience right now. Every time they hear about another comic book movie in development, they roll their eyes. I think when they heard there was another Superman film coming, they would have said, oh, not again. We've had a lot of Superman media since 2005's Superman Returns, or 2006's Superman Returns to be accurate. So there's been a lot of, we had Smallville. Superman Returns was released while Smallville was an active television series. We had Man of Steel. We've had Superman and Lois. We've had BVS. We've had Justice League. We've had Zack Snyder's Justice League and all of that drama. There's been a lot of Superman media. There's my adventure with Superman. I would call it a woke Superman animated cartoon that I won't watch. But anyway, if you like it, good for you. So it's, the field isn't clear for James Gunn yet. There's no foregone conclusion that Superman will fail or succeed. And without knowing what we're getting, it's very, very difficult. As I've said a billion times before, we don't know the plot of this movie. We really don't know what's going to happen in this movie. We kind of knew what direction Man of Steel was going to be going in, or Superman Returns was going in, but we don't really know the direction of this film. It's very, very secretive. He is very transparent with his fans on Fred's James Gunn, but we really don't know where we're going with this film. And if you think, because they keep on posting All-Star Superman and that picture of Superman and Lois by the moon, that we know what they're doing, we don't. These could be inspirations. The Kingdom Come logo on Superman's chest could just be an inspiration. Doesn't mean he's actually doing Kingdom Come. The most important thing today with modern day entertainment in any way, shape or form is to keep your expectations at a minimum, at a low. Then you won't be disappointed, because we've been here before with the Star Wars sequel trilogy and every fucking thing these people make today. And mostly it always ends up underwhelming. But I think Joker Folie à Deux coming out this year creates a very interesting situation, because if that film, it's a DC film, so if that film is successful and wins awards and is nominated for stuff and gets a record-breaking standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival, that's going to be hugely intimidating for James Gunn. Now let's move over to Doctor Who. It's finally, we've discussed this before, but that's before it was official. It's now official. Stephen Moffat, the former writer and showrunner of Doctor Who, is returning in the new Russell T Davies second era of Doctor Who. He's already written an episode for the first series for Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor. Personally, I adore Stephen Moffat. I think he's a very good, intelligent writer with a vivid imagination who loves Doctor Who. In fact, since he's left Doctor Who, he's shown more passion and love for it than Russell T Davies has. And I was very excited when Russell was announced to be returning. What I've seen from his conduct since is that he's a very angry man, bitter and frustrated how his friend Chris Chibnall was treated by some fans. He's going to war with the fans. He doesn't seem to like us anymore. Maybe he didn't like us anyway. He doesn't seem in a very good, positive place, where it's interesting because Moffat was running Doctor Who for a long time. In fact, when he left, his good friend Mark Gatiss, who's written loads of episodes for Doctor Who, don't be surprised if he writes another one in for the new era, said, finally, my friend is free. He's been a prisoner, held hostage by the BBC. That's interesting considering Moffat has voluntarily come back again. And don't be surprised if Stephen Moffat ends up replacing Russell T Davies as Doctor Who. Don't be surprised if this happens at the end of the second season of his second tenure. It's going to be very, very interesting if that happens. Although history could repeat itself and RTD stays for 4 whole series, then Moffat takes over. Some people will find Moffat returning to write this one episode, because this is just the beginning, by the way. He will write more in future seasons, as well as my theory of him replacing Davies as the showrunner. History is repeating itself. But if you think that's controversial, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. Because let me tell you something. Chris Chibnall will also return to write Doctor Who episodes or an episode. That's right. It's going to happen. He's going to do it. Bringing back Stephen Moffat is just a baby step. It's like when someone falls asleep and you creep out the room and the floor creaks, right? That's what he's hoping for. He's hoping the floor doesn't creak when he announces that Chris Chibnall will be writing an episode of Doctor Who. And he will be. So Russell T Davies brought this show back with his passion, with his talent, with his genius. But Russell T Davies was a very different man back in 2005. He's not the same man. He's around 60 years old now. To me, he's out of ideas. Let's just go back and quickly analyse his not so specials, as we've done many times on this platform. Let's look at Star Beast. Star Beast isn't Russell T Davies' original story. It's based on a Doctor Who comic book. No originality there. Then we had Wild Blue Yonder, which seemed like a rip-off to the Ganger storyline from Stephen Graham in the Moffat and Matt Smith era. He ripped a lot out of that two-part story, if you ask me. Then there was The Giggle, which literally was a rip-off from Russell T Davies' The Last of the Time Lords with David Tennant and John Sim as the Master. Not much originality there. Then we had the Church on Ruby Road, or whatever it was, right? It was a Christmas special again. She came across like another version of Rose. Unfortunately, her first episode wasn't as effective and as enjoyable as Rose Tyler's was, because RTD has lost his mojo. He's lost his ability to give us a new take on Doctor Who. And as much as I respect him, and I have gratitude for him for bringing the show back in such an excellent way, it's time for the Country Club, the Russell T Davies Country Club, to loosen their grip on Doctor Who. But they're not going to do that. So history is repeating itself. Tari's a very popular, successful Doctor Who YouTuber. I'm not a fan of YouTubers, by the way, because they set certain narratives I don't like. But he said, why can't we have both, like the old writers and the new writers? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it, Taris? That would be absolutely fantastic. Oh, we'll get some new age female writers, of course, that have certain opinions of men. But we won't get genuine Doctor Who fans running episodes and writing episodes of Doctor Who, like we did in the early stages of the RTD original era. RTD, Stephen Moffat, Mark Gatiss, a great writer. These were genuine Doctor Who fans. We're not going to get that anymore because we live in current day. Now, what's interesting to me, going back to that interview with Millie Gibson when she said it's going to be controversial, the new series, and it's going to be for Gen Z and the TikTok generation are going to love it. Well, one of the episodes is going back in time to meet the Beatles. I'm just wondering what TikTok generation, what Gen Z, what member of Gen Z are actually going to be interested in watching an episode about the Beatles. So that doesn't make any sense. The thing I'll say again, that I've said before, the budget's not there. They had to go to Disney for some investment. They tried everyone else and everyone said no, they was not interested, because Doctor Who is a damaged franchise. Now, Russell T Davies has spoken about multiverses and this and that. It's all a facade. He doesn't have any new ideas. He's bringing his friends back. And again, I believe Stephen Moffat is a great writer, as I said. He'll probably give us one of the best episodes. He'll probably give us better episodes than the Russell T Davies written episodes, if you ask me. I don't really have a problem with Moffat returning. I do have a problem with this country club of Doctor Who writers and producers having a tight grip on Doctor Who. And this is why Russell came back. As he said during his 60th anniversary, he wasn't ready to let Doctor Who go. Not because he was worried that it could go in a new exciting direction, not that he was worried that, someone could damage it. Now, that's kind of the assumption I made. He doesn't want to let go of Doctor Who. He's run the show. His friend Stephen Moffat's run the show. His friend Chris Chibnall has run the show. So since the show's come back, it's only his own people who have run Doctor Who. So right now, they've got a grip on this franchise, and it's a tight grip. He's abused fans. Fans complained about the Davros situation on his Instagram. They weren't rude, and he just said, tough, He was being rude to fans when there was no need to. And I've been on his Instagram and I've always been respectful to him and I've always had a laugh with him. I respect the man. I look up to him as a creative. But it doesn't mean I'm going to kiss his backside when I don't agree with what's going on. There's been a lot of red flags since those not so specials. Those specials were not special. They did not celebrate 60 years of an iconic property. So the red flags are there. But maybe the first series will be good. There'll be originality and it'll be exciting. But one of the things I saw in these not so specials, especially in the Christmas special, is that he's setting up a mystery box. So people are saying, whoa, here we go, more mystery box from RTD. He wasn't that mystery box, by the way. He did Bad Wolf, which was a one-word thing. It was a bit of a mystery, but it wasn't deep mystery box. And when it was resolved, there was at least something in the box. Same thing with Series 2, Torchwood arc, right? One word, bit of a mystery, revealed at the end of the season. Harold Saxon, another mystery, 2 words, resolved at the end of the season, perfectly well. There was something in the box. And normally, bad mystery box, there's nothing in the box and you're underwhelmed, right? Oh, Ray, who's Ray? You know, who's she connected to? You're not connected to anyone. Oh, yeah, you're Palpatine's granddaughter, right? They're making up as they went along. RTD didn't do that. I wouldn't go as far as to say he did mystery box. Now, the person who really did mystery box was Stephen Moffat. And sometimes it was really good and sometimes it was not so good, you know. And sometimes, as he went along, I think he started to run out of ideas and he was just using mystery box as a magnet to lure us in. If you know what I mean, it was like the Pied Piper playing a flute. But anyway, and of course, The Timeless Child was the biggest of mystery boxes that divided a fandom. But it's interesting because I said from the beginning that whole thing with Millie Gibson's character and the whole mystery box and Anita Dobson and the mystery with her, that didn't seem like Russell T Davies to me. That seemed like Stephen Moffat. So it could be that what we're seeing is actually more Stephen Moffat than Russell T Davies. But they don't want us to know that. This is why I feel that Stephen Moffat will take over the running of Doctor Who sooner rather than later. And it's interesting to me Moffat had some huge arguments. You know, there was a huge divide between Moffat and a lot of Doctor Who fans. Because Doctor Who fandom is a very unstable place, I'm afraid. It's not a new thing. It's always been like that. It's a very passionate fandom. I respect passionate fandoms, by the way, as long as we don't let it spill over to like death threats and things like that. And some of the things that were being said to Moffat and the reason he was, driven off Twitter wasn't a good thing and it spilled over. But after all of that, after apparently him being, a prisoner on the show, he's back and potentially could take over. It's one of those situations, isn't it, where it's Groundhog Day. It's like half of me thinks, no way is history going to repeat itself. No way is Moffat going to take over, and then maybe, God forbid, Chibnall take over again. But it's so ludicrous and it's so ridiculous. I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. You wouldn't think it's going to happen. And they don't answer to anyone. They don't have to answer to anyone. These are successful people. They're back on Doctor Who. Nothing's changed. RTD's back. He'll go. Moffat will replace him. And probably Chibnall will replace him. I'm beyond the place of anger and frustration now. Because we're in current day. Because everything's so underwhelming. This is what I spoke about earlier when we were talking about DC. If you don't have your expectations too high, then you can't be disappointed. Someone was saying on X today, I'm a bit underwhelmed by the first Rebel Moon and this new trailer. And I said, listen, I like it, but it was never going to be MOS or the Snyder Cut or BVS. And I said, if you keep your expectations low with modern day entertainment, you won't get disappointed. So I believed that Russell T Davies was going to come back and give us the Doctor Who we once had. And you know what? I was pretty dumb to think that.